Am I the a-hole for sending my younger sister money against my girlfriend's wishes? Plus mini updates. My younger sister, female 25, is working towards getting her master's degree in New York. While she loves the city and school, she hates how expensive everything has become. She does work part-time, but it simply isn't enough. My parents, male 77 and female 73, have been sending her money each month, but since they recently retired, they've had to cut back. To fill the gap, my brother, male 28, and I, male 32, have begun sending some money to our sister from time to time to help with her rent. I have a well-paying job and a close relationship with my sister, so I'm happy to help where I can. However, my girlfriend, female 30, has expressed her dissatisfaction with the arrangement. We've been saving up to put a down payment on a house in the future, and my girlfriend believes that my financial contributions to my sister is hindering our progress. Yesterday, which happened to be the day I usually send my sister money, girlfriend told me that we needed to reduce expenses, and one suggestion she made was for me to no longer send money to my sister. She believes that my sister needs to learn how to manage her money better, and that my brother, male 28, should contribute more. I told her about how I feel irresponsibility towards my sister, and how my brother doesn't make as much as I do. And while she did acknowledge that, she then said I was financially naive, and said she doesn't want me to be taken advantage of. I was kinda disappointed hearing this, as I made a conscientious decision to help my sister, and wasn't falling for some sort of scam. The conversation ended because we both had to go to work, but she told me not to send anything until we've further discussed this. During my lunch break at work, I proceeded to send my sister some money anyway and told girlfriend about this over dinner. She told me that she was disappointed. At this point, I was getting a little annoyed and responded by saying I was not willing to compromise my current arrangement with my sister. Girlfriend got upset with us and left the table. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I make about 15.5k a month and have been putting away 4 to 6k each month towards a future house. Girlfriend makes about 7k a month, currently saves around 1k a month for the house. She said she'll contribute more once her student loans are paid off. I pay for rent and utilities, while girlfriend pays for bulk of groceries. I started sending my sister $1,500 a month since my parents retired. Sister pays $2,800 a month in rent and $350 a month in transportation. I contribute $1,500 a month. Brother pays $750 and parents pay $500. Our mother was terrified of sister living in New York City on her own and only agreed if she lived in a nicer area and had a car. For those wondering, I'm a chemical engineer, and girlfriend has been paying about 2.5k a month to pay for student loans. Now for the top comments before reading the mini updates. Do you and your girlfriend share finances? If not, then you are not the a-hole. Otherwise, you are. We don't have a shared bank account. I pay rent and utilities. She pays about 80% of the groceries while I cover about 20%. Then absolutely not the a-hole. I personally would be wary about how someone wants to dictate to you like this about money, especially considering it appears you contribute substantially more shared expenses. And he's already saving 4 to 6 times as much as the girlfriend towards the house. Out of $7,000 a month, she contributes $1,000 towards the house, plus groceries, and $2,500 in student loans. What is she spending 2.5k a month on? How many clothes, etc. does she need? It's your money, and you have offered to help your sister out. I respect this decision greatly. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but massive red flags getting thrown around your girlfriend, my man. It would be one thing if you were sending so much money that it was affecting your own financial status, or if your sister was lying or taking advantage of you and your brother, or if your girlfriend was also contributing money and no longer wanted to, or if you were sending shared money. But none of those things are an issue. And literally, your sister is just trying to exist in an expensive city, and her extremely loving and generous brothers are choosing to support her because they can and want to. That's really beautiful. You should really reconsider buying a house and continuing a relationship with someone who prioritizes her own desires so far over yours. She's seriously overstepping and disrespecting, unless she's not telling you some hidden fear or worry here that explains her bizarre self-centered stance. What she's trying to force you into is selfish and caring and just icky. 100% this. The money you're sending your sister is not hindering your monthly bills or savings. You make more than twice what your girlfriend does and are saving way more than she is. All she pays in bills is 80% of groceries, and you pay the rest plus the remainder of the bills. Your girlfriend is very greedy and manipulative. Please look at all the red flags that are being flagged around you. Not a-hole at all. It's a lot of marinara. The way she's trash-talking his family is my biggest concern. Like she wants to isolate him from what sounds like a very supportive family. Now for the mini updates. My girlfriend and I had a long talk after work. It didn't go well. To summarize, tensions escalated during the conversation. I told her that I planned to continue helping my sister until she completes her degree, and afterward, she would either start working or move back to our parents' home until she finds a job. However, my girlfriend expressed her belief that my sister, and the whole family, is manipulating me and thinks I'm naive enough to send her money regardless of how she uses it. I started to feel increasingly annoyed and defensive by her accusations and asserted that it's my money and I have the right to spend it as I see fit. And then stupidly said that if she really wanted us to buy a house, she should save more and cut back on expenses like nice shoes, clothes, and purses. At this point, she became properly angry and declared that she couldn't stay in the same house as me and said that she would be going to her friend's house. Before leaving, she said, "Call me when you stop thinking like a freaking idiot." And before I could even think, I replied, "I won't be calling." I feel that I may have irreparably damaged our relationship. Update 2. I want to express my thanks to all of you for sharing your perspectives and insights. Your input is truly appreciated. Following the fight with my girlfriend, I reached out to my brother to confide in him about what happened. His take was pretty optimistic. However, he advised me to stand firm in my position, while also remaining open to fully hearing out my girlfriend and considering the possibility of reconciliation. He cautioned against contacting girlfriend's friend to ask about her whereabouts, as it may smell of desperation, and instead said that he would come over as he lives about an hour away, so we could spend time together over a movie and dinner. At this point, I feel drained and numb. It's been a long day, and to be honest, I just want it over. Update 3. My brother came by and brought dinner. We've been watching The Dark Knight since. Don't know why he chose that. Still haven't heard from girlfriend or her friend. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay all the rent and bills? I have been with my partner for 2 years and lived together for 1 year. We split the rent and bills 50-50, apart for 3 months last year when my girlfriend went through a bad period of depression due to her job and missed a lot of work. During this time, I had to pay 75% of everything. This was affordable but barely, and I had to cut back on a lot of things. Now, my girlfriend is complaining about her job again, saying it causing her to feel low and saying she's thinking of just leaving because she hates it there. I tried talking to her about waiting until something else comes along before leaving, since having no money will only add to her stress. She asked if I would be able to cover everything if she left, and I said I couldn't. I pointed out if I did pay for everything, that would mean that pretty much every month I'd end up dipping into my savings, and that after rent and bills and food, I'd have pretty much nothing at all left. She just said it's something I might have to do soon, and I again said I won't be. I said, as crappy as it may be, she'll either have to stay at her current job or pay her half of the rent and bills from her savings. She accused me of not being supportive and started talking about how I knew she hated it at her job and should want to help her. I said I do help her, but that is too much to ask since she knows I can't afford it, and I should not have to dip into my savings just because she quits a job. She again just accused me of being unsupportive. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay all of the rent and bills? Not the a-hole. What makes it okay for you to dip into your savings to pay bills, but not her? That's not how it works. Her savings are there for times she has no money coming in. If she leaves her job, this will be one of those times. She can pay from her savings and search for a new job before they deplete to nothing. Totally not the a-hole. I get why OP's partner feels desperate. I left a job last year that was really damaging to my mental health, and I completely understand the feeling of losing a little bit of yourself every time you have to go back to that office. It's awful, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I kept going back until I had another job in place, because I can't afford to not have an income. It's a truly terrible reality to have to live in, but it's the one we've got, and OP's partner needs to be realistic about it. and either keep the job until she gets a new one or make sure her savings are enough to cover her expenses in the meantime. Then OP's partner should be applying for other jobs. I don't know why she, or really anyone who quits without a plan, thinks that this is a magical thing that'll just work itself out. She sounds like a freeloader. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, she is an adult that had to be responsible for herself, whether or not she's feeling depressed. You can be supportive without literally bleeding yourself dry. If she expects this of you, that sounds like a huge character flaw. Girlfriend isn't looking for a supportive partner, just someone to financially support her. On the money, she doesn't want to work. She wants to be a stay-at-home do-nothing. The fact that she isn't even willing to cover her own expenses from her savings means she's just gonna mooch for the rest of her days if she can. Even without kids in the equation, I can see OP making a habit of this to the point he feels trapped. You can be not the a-hole and still make the wrong choice here if you stay in this situation. You need to end this because she isn't in the right headspace to be a good partner to anyone, and she needs to fix that. Even if you don't count the fact you're basically paying for everything, you could probably save enough money to keep afloat not paying her expenses. If she isn't taking antidepressants or whatever her psychiatrist gives her, then she needs to go see one and get a prescription, because you can't choose being basically non-functioning for half the months in a year. If you care for her well-being, sending her back to her parents with the suggestion she gets a psychiatrist before you consider revisiting your relationship will probably be the best thing that happens to her. She will either see how bad she lets things get, or she will choose to be exactly who she is, but as someone else's problem instead of yours. Last story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son, his girlfriend, and my grandson out of my house? I, 63 female, and my husband, 67 male, ran into an issue with my son last year. During the pandemic, his girlfriend got pregnant. He moved her in with his roommates who were not happy. The roommates left, and they resigned with the landlord just themselves. But his girlfriend couldn't/wouldn't find a job, and lost his job a few months later and couldn't pay rent. They stayed for 7 months and they got evicted. Now they have an eviction on their record, and terrible credit because they lived off of credit card. So they have thousands in credit card debt. I didn't want them moving in. My son, 38 male, lived at home until he was 31, so we had a lot of trouble getting him to move out. But his girlfriend was giving birth soon, so we took them in. They stayed for almost a year, and the deal was, they both get jobs, they help pay utilities and pay off their credit cards and find a place to live. They were only supposed to stay for 6 months, but they wouldn't move out when we asked at the end of 6 months. They said because of the eviction on the record, no one would rent to them. They also didn't make enough to pay utilities, so my husband and I paid more in utilities. And they ate for free as well, since they would take from the fridge and wouldn't buy any groceries themselves. We offered to help them with baby expenses like diapers, car seats, etc. at first, but it's been almost a year, and we're still paying for it. They were doing DoorDash, but not working more than 3 to 4 hours a day. I kept trying to get my son to get a full-time job, but he just got angry and accused me of nagging him. His girlfriend is also very messy and doesn't clean up after herself. I've changed more diapers and fed her son more than she has, and it's infuriating because they chose to have a child but won't take responsibility. My husband and I have been retired for 2 years now, and we had planned to move to Chile where I am from. We were supposed to sell the house last year and didn't, just to let them stay, but it's now been over a year and we were sick of it. We kept telling them they had to move out, and they just ignored us, so we put our house up for sale. We had wanted to renovate it first, but they wouldn't let us into their bathroom and room, so we decided just to sell it as is. We got a fair offer and closed by the weekend, and told them they had 2 months to move. My son yelled at us for kicking them out and not caring about him, and shattered the decorative vase we had. They finally moved out, and we are in between places and will be going to Chile next month. But my son and his girlfriend currently have nowhere to live. They are staying with a friend now, but they are only letting them stay until the end of the month, and then they will have to figure it out. My son yells at me over the phone and tells me I'm never allowed to see my grandson again for kicking them out. I don't know where I went wrong, that he couldn't be an adult and get a job and move out without being forced. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. He's 38. You are way more patient than you should have been. Not the a-hole. I have a 37-year-old sister who has 2 teenagers. And my mom and I just had a big blow up at each other because my sister got offended. I offered her some occupational assistance. That being said, you two also are the main cause of this whole thing. Did you enable him until he was 31 living with you? Did he help with bills then? When people have children while being financially insecure by choice, a lot of the reason is that their parents let them skate by. This is the tough love you should have done ages ago. It's crazy to me that between two people they couldn't even split utilities. They wouldn't let her in the bathroom. Either it was disgusting AF, or they're using and it's disgusting AF. As I told my mom about my 35-year-old brother, sometimes you just have to love people from over there, at a safe distance. I have a hallmark relationship with one of my adult sons. I say nice things like a greeting card, and stay far away. I mean, I didn't move out of the parents until I was 31, but I was paying a rent they were happy with, worked full-time, and was clearly saving for a home. I don't think 30 plus is an reasonable age to move out, provided you had a reason for staying, not just to mooch off your parents. I think the situation was the unreasonable part. Not working full-time is the big red flag. Not the a-hole, but perhaps set up a trust for that kid for when he comes of age, because it sounds like he may need it. Sounds like a good idea if you plan on leaving an inheritance, something completely untouchable until kid is 18 or 21, and then can only be used on higher education or down payment on a home. And only set it up so that his entitled parents can't touch a red cent of it under any circumstances. You may have gone wrong nowhere at all. Some amazing kids came from awful parents, and sometimes rarer, amazing parents end up raising poop birds. I do worry for the kid, and I think you should call CPS. This baby is a baby, and there is a decent chance of adoption since the two of them can't get it together. If I were you, I'd try to come to peace with never seeing your grandchild, because even if they keep the kid, they will always use that child as a pawn to get money and housing. And anytime you say no, they threaten and remove the child. Your son is nearly 40. I'm so sorry because I know you're embarrassed, but whether you did a good job or a bad job, your job here is done. Am I the a-hole for not treating my niece/bio daughter more like one of my kids? I have a niece, Ava, 14 female, who is also my bio daughter, as I'm her sperm donor. She is the daughter of my sister and her wife. Her wife's the bio mother as well. They obviously could not have children together. They decided to tell Ava about it a few months ago. Originally, the plan was to have Ava know from the beginning, but they changed their mind. That's a whole other story though. Anyway, since Ava has found out, she started coming over to our house every day. It used to be just after school every day, but now that summer break has started, she is here from early in the morning too. Now, my niece is great and all, but having a guest over every day was a little much for me. I talked to my wife about it, and she admitted she also wasn't happy about having a guest every day either, but hadn't said anything because she didn't think it was her place to interfere given the situation. I told her I understand, and we agreed to talk to our kids about them inviting her over less. However, when we talked to them, we found out that they were not inviting her over. We had assumed they were, since the three were always together. They've explained it to us that she just started following them home after school one day. They've also said that they don't like having her over so much either. They don't mind her over sometimes, but they don't want guests over all the time either. They also said with her always around, they feel like they can't go out and do things with their friends or invite them over. So after we talked it through, we agreed we would all be more comfortable with her coming over more like once every other week. Which I will add is still a lot more than she previously used to come over. Previously, we would only see her on holidays. I talked to my sister about it and she says I'm wrong for wanting to push Ava out and calling her a guest. She says that she's figuring out things and wants to spend more time with her bio siblings. Furthermore, she said her daughter was crushed that we are going on a big family vacation next month and hadn't invited her yet. Another thing that has bothered her according to my sister is that we gave her the same birthday gift as we usually do, a $50 gift card, like nothing has changed. Overall, my sister thinks I should be treating her more like how I treat my kids now. Obviously, this is a delicate situation, and we want to treat it as such. But we do think it's fair to have some firm boundaries. Edit. Just so everyone knows, the donation was done through a clinic, and there is paperwork saying it was a donation, and I am not the legal parent of any child that was created through the donation. Now for the top comments. She expects things to change, not realizing that you and your wife already knew and treated her no different. She sounds young and might need therapy soon. Not the a-hole. This is a tricky situation, but it's better to have an open conversation now and set boundaries before she develops more expectations. I'd sit with her, maybe in therapy, and explain that you are not her dad. You are merely someone who provided DNA. I'm sure you have documents to support this as well. That you love her as a niece, that she's family, but she's a niece and a cousin, not a daughter to you, nor your nuclear family. Your sister is the a-hole, because she's essentially trying to pawn her kid off on you. Again, I'd pull documents here. It needs to be explained that regardless of her knowing this information, nothing is going to change. To be honest, I have a feeling sister and sister-in-law have been telling her things. So y'all need to sit down and get on the same page as well. 100% this right here. And I'm guessing this was the plan all along. Obi even said his sister thinks he should be treating her more like how he treats his kids now. Therapy is a great idea, but I don't know if it will work if sister and sister-in-law don't want to see the problem and agree with how their daughter is behaving. For sure, there has to be discussion with Ava on clear boundaries, and unfortunately, it looks like there is no way Opie is going to be cast as anything other than a villain, thanks to the way Ava's parents have handled this, through absolutely no fault of his own. None of my business, but I'm really curious why they didn't tell Ava at the very beginning and only decided to when she's what, 3 to 4 years away from graduating? Perhaps they want Opie to help pay for her college? Yep, that painful discussion has to happen ASAP. There was a post on another sub where the Opie was mulling the same situation and being a supermarket donor to his sister's wife. I felt it would be a weird dynamic being called Uncle Dad, and it makes me think this is akin to a child being adopted and trying to connect with a bio dad/mom. There is more going on here than I think Opie knows about. I have a hard time seeing this ending well for Opie and Ava. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother and his family move in with me? My 27 female brother, 31 male asked if he could move in with me and my husband. To sum it up, my brother is basically a man-child. How he got a woman to marry him and bear his child is lost on me. My parents pampered him like crazy. Whatever he wanted, they would get it for him. But when it came to me and my older sister, 30 female, we were told to be happy with what we have. He never had to clean or do anything around the house and got to come and go as he'd like. But we weren't allowed to because we were girls. The only thing he had going for him was school, and he even managed to screw that up. He was offered a full scholarship and had a job lined up for him as soon as he finished college. But he decided to drop out because he didn't want to put into work and would rather mooch off our parents. Him, his wife, 40 female, and their child, 8 male, have been living with our parents for the past 9 years. Except for when our sister was trying to help him find a job close to where she lives, and she had him live with her. They were leasing an apartment, but due to him not being able to hold down a job and his wife not making that much money working at a salon, they had to move in with our parents. Last year, I flew my entire family out here for the holidays. It was the first time they were visiting my home in 8 years, since I'd moved out of my home country for college and decided to stay after I completed my nursing degree. Since then, I've gotten married to my husband, 42 male, and had my daughter, 2 female. My brother kept commenting on how nice and spacious our house is, and I thought nothing of it. It wasn't until when it was time for them to leave that my brother asked if him and his family could come live with us, seeing as we have more than enough space to accommodate his family. We live in an 8-bedroom/7-bathroom home, so he says it wouldn't be an inconvenience if they were to live here. But based on my brother's track record, he would absolutely find a way to inconvenience us. And according to him, he is going to try and find a job. But I don't believe him. When he couldn't get through me, he tried to get our parents to convince me and even tried to pressure my husband into agreeing. He almost agreed to it to keep the peace, but I stood firm. It's been 6 months since we've had that argument, but they still haven't let up. Edit. For those of you worried that we're wasting money on a big house and don't need those extra bedrooms, my husband has a big family, so we sometimes host them. And we do also foster kids, so we want to make sure we have enough room. And some of you misunderstood me. I didn't let my family move in with me. They were just visiting. Not the a-hole. He isn't your child. You aren't responsible for any adult other than yourself. This might be the first time in his life he's ever heard no. Your responsibility is to your child and your husband. Your mooch brother moving in would not be in the best interests of your child or marriage. Your brother would stress you out and add more to everyone's workload around the house, taking away from the attention you're giving to each other and your careers. Whatever stress you're dealing with now from his persistence is a fraction of what you'd get if he moved in. There's only so many hours in a day. Don't allocate any to raising a man-child. I have had certain family members who were not used to being denied anything. Others were expected to move mountains to get them what they wanted. They would nag, beg, and complain, to the point of physically following me around the house and would attempt to guilt trip or manipulate to get their own way. These were adults. It doesn't end with these types. Nothing convinces them that they won't eventually be successful if they just keep up the pressure. Not the a-hole. He will just become your responsibility to take care of. He won't appreciate it, and it will damage your relationship much more when you ask him to move than saying no to him moving in. He will also not help clean, cook, watch his own child, contribute anything financially, and probably leave a mess/destroy things. He would expect to join you at restaurants, for free, and on trips you take. I wouldn't even let them stay for a weekend. Yep, I absolutely see this as a nightmare. No contributions. He's definitely not getting a job. And if they're moving from as far away as it sounds, wife won't have a job either. They'll trash the place and expect you to fix it. And expect you treat his family the way you treat your own. Trips, meals out, movie nights, expensive gifts, etc. Host people without telling you or inviting you. So you have to leave or stay in a designated area for the duration. I definitely see him as the type that demands resident privileges when they're planning a party and insists they are guests when there's housework to be done. They'll probably have more kids since there's so much room, and you will never get them out. It sounds like you and your husband are doing well financially, probably better than your parents, and he wants to take advantage of that improved lifestyle. I see 20 to 30 years in the future, they are still living there, as are their now adult children and their spouses and kids, because you can afford to support them all. Don't do it. Your parents are pressuring you because they don't want to deal with him anymore. He is pressuring you because he sees your house as an upgrade he can live in, without having to contribute financially or physically. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not transferring the social pension I am receiving from the state to my mother? I, 18 female, have been receiving social pension from the state since my father passed away in 2017. At first, it was my mother, 54 female, who received the money on her account. But as soon as I turned 18 in 2022, the money started going to my account. My mother immediately told me to sign a document that would allow her to keep receiving the money on her own account. And when I refused, she yelled at me and generally tried to guilt trip me into caving in. So I felt I had no choice. Fortunately, my country's law didn't allow it, so I kept receiving the money. Then she told me to transfer the money to her, so I did, but she only allowed me to keep a ridiculously small part of it. The social pension is around $614, and she only let me keep about $25. Then her final offer was $50. I just want to be independent with my own money, save for college, my future, etc. Yet she claims that I will only waste it for treats. Yesterday, I had enough. At first, I asked her to let me leave about $75 for myself, and she said no, so I didn't send her anything. She called me cruel and greedy and told me that she's ashamed of my behavior, and that I should be ashamed too. She then told me that this money helped her survive when we were poor, a few years ago, saying that was most likely another attempt to guilt trip me, as nowadays, she and my stepfather are prosperous. They buy themselves new cars quite frequently, buy expensive dinners for themselves from time to time, and could afford extensive renovations in our house, purely to make it more aesthetically pleasing. She also claimed that she has to pay bills and my expenses with that money. When I said that I could chip in and pay for whatever bills I generate, she of course refused. After shouting at me yesterday, she has been giving me the silent treatment and I don't know what to do anymore. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I'm not American, so US laws don't apply to me. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. This is your money. Yours, not hers. You are 18, old enough to have and be responsible for your money and decide what it is spent on. Keep your money. This is her money. If she needs the money, she can explain exactly why. It's fair to explain, not just demand. It seems very much like OP has good plans for the money, like paying for college and knows cost of rent in her country. She needs this money to start her own life. And it appalls me that this mom is being too damn selfish. Through her new marriage, she has financial security, but doesn't want OP to have this money? And of course, she's guilt-tripping her with the fact she did the bare minimum a parent is legally required to do for her kid. Keep the money and ignore mommy dearest, not the a-hole. My wife's mother died shortly before her 17th birthday. Her dad stole all but one of her survivor's benefits checks. He was more physically violent than OP's egg donor when my wife brought it up. Both are still abusive a-holes who have no right to the money. Oh, my dad stole my mom's life insurance money from me, which was fun to deal with come adulthood. Not the a-hole. The money is for taking care of you, which is why she was getting the money until you were legally an adult. The money's purpose is the same, but you're an adult now, so you can use it to take care of yourself. I recommend finding a path to independence. Make sure to dump a bit from every check into a savings account that only you have access to. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to wet myself for my sister-in-law's wedding? The wedding happened in a little river. And I mean in the river. In the water. The minister, bride, who's my husband's sister, and groom stood on a little strip of land so they were not wet. But all attendants were expected to stand knee-deep in rushing water for the whole ceremony. I'm sure it made for great photos, but I personally really dislike mud, germs, insects, and whatever disease are found in that stream. The kids who couldn't easily stand in water that might be as tall as their whole body were left in ankle-deep water nearby, with a couple older women. When I refused to remove my shoes, socks, and pull up my dress pants, my husband offered that I stay with the kids. I said no, I refuse to walk into that water, even if it's just ankle deep. Apparently, most people there knew about the water thing, but I didn't. My husband knew, but claims he forgot to tell me. The ceremony could have easily moved forward with me standing on the shore, just a few feet away from the kids. But no. The bride and groom apparently refused to start until every person was in the water, and my husband waded in the water back and forth between his sister and me to mediate. My husband was becoming visibly angry at me the longer it went on and kept acting like I was in the wrong. The bride and groom eventually relented and the ceremony went on, delayed by maybe 30 minutes. Then in the after party, I felt that I was being avoided by everyone else, including my husband. That was nearly 2 weeks ago. My husband was stone-faced and refusing to talk to me about it, or about anything at all for several days. And when he started talking again, he refused to address the wedding beyond telling me that I humiliated him in front of his family, and he refuses to talk about it any longer. Things like, I will get really angry if you keep bringing up this topic. Put it to rest, and I will try to forget what you did. But I feel like I did nothing wrong. I feel blindsided, because if I'd been told in advance what the wedding entailed, I would have faked a stomach bug and not attend a damn thing at all. Am I the a-hole? Major, not the a-hole. That's information you need before the wedding. Like, well before the wedding. Firstly, whatever clothes you wear will probably be ruined. Secondly, you need to bring towels and a change of pants. Thirdly, it's perfectly reasonable not to want to stand in river/creek water for any reason at all. Your spouse is a massive a-hole for not telling you in advance, and a couple are massive a-holes for refusing to go on without you in the water. Don't feel guilty. This is on them, mostly your spouse and not on you. The idea sounds absolutely insane. I assume it's the US because there is no way a whole wedding party would put up with crap like that in the rest of the world. Not the a-hole. Stupidest thing I have ever heard of. Opie's husband is the a-hole too. OMG, I would have noped my way out of there and left. Not the a-hole, and frankly, I don't think he forgot to tell you. He purposely didn't tell you, figuring they'd get you to go along with it when you found out in the moment. I've been considering that possibility as well. If that is truly the case, I fear the problem runs deeper than this incident, because I don't think I can stay married to someone lying to me explicitly to manipulate me into doing things he knows I wouldn't want to do.